Hi, I'm Dr. Natalie Masson, and I'm a psychologist specializing in the mind-body connection. There are many ways that what's on our minds and what we're feeling can impact our physical bodies, and the reverse is true as well. What's happening in our bodies affects how we think and how we feel. I've been working as a psychotherapist in private practice for 18 years, and I help people navigate their emotional world and understand how this interfaces with their physical health as well. I'm going to talk with you briefly today about some of the ways that stress might impact your fertility, and then I'm going to talk about 3 different types of meditation that I've found to be helpful for decreasing stress while you're facing fertility challenges. So let's talk about why stress matters for fertility. First of all, when you're under stress, sometimes you default to some of your less healthy self-care strategies. Maybe you don't eat as well, maybe you don't sleep as well because you're feeling stress. A second way that stress could impact fertility is it might not put you so much in the mood for doing the kinds of things that are involved in making babies. But what might be even more important is what stress does to our nervous system. If you keep in mind that our systems are designed for survival first, that will help you see where stress comes into play. So the brain is scanning for signs of things that might threaten our basic survival. And when something like that is perceived, the system sets us up to be able to best survive. So think of the kind of crises that could put your life at risk, like your house is on fire, you're being chased by a bear. Your nervous system is going to go into instant alert to send all of its resources into the things that are going to help you survive, like sending energy into your body so that you can run away, shutting down things that aren't needed right now, like digestion, like resting, like reproducing. So reproduction is an essential survival need for the species, but it's not an essential survival need moment by moment if there is an impending crisis going on. The problem is that the nervous system doesn't necessarily distinguish between different types of stress, and anything that feels like a crisis could register as something to throw the body into this mode of pushing energy away from secondary needs like reproduction and saving that energy for things like springing into action, fighting, or fleeing. So if you have chronic stress in your life, your nervous system might be trying to protect you by keeping all the resources for crisis survival and not sending resources toward creating a new life. So ultimately, we want to think in terms of how can I send messages to my body that we are safe, we're safe from harm, we're not under threat, so that the body can say, oh, this is a nice time for creating new life. And we can see evidence supporting this theory in research studies that have been done looking at women's stress levels and then their pregnancy outcomes. So for example, in one study, they monitored women who were trying to conceive across many months, and they looked at their stress levels as measured by a certain protein in their saliva. The women in the highest stress level categories compared with the women in the lowest stress level categories were 29% less likely to conceive each cycle. In another study, they monitored women's stress levels based on their own self-report across many cycles of trying to conceive, and they asked them to report what their stress level was during their ovulation window. And for these women, comparing across many cycles, they found that on cycles when they had lower stress, they were 40% more likely to conceive than on cycles when they had higher stress. So these are just a few examples of how the research supports this notion that stress is not a friend to your fertility. When you hear research statistics like that, it's a little bit surprising that in the fertility treatment communities, there isn't necessarily a strong emphasis placed on stress reduction. And my take on that is that 2 things. When doctors go through medical training, they're so much focused on the medical procedures and the physical body and not so much on psychological factors. So it tends to just not be on their radar screen as much that these things can really make an impact, even though the research suggests that it really can make a difference. And the other reason you might not hear it emphasized too much by your medical doctors is that that's just not where their training lies. So they're less likely to feel comfortable giving advice in an area that's not where their training lies. And there are more and more fertility doctors I hear about now who do encourage their patients to work on reducing stress. The problem is that most of the people suggesting this don't have a lot of specific tools to help you with this. And if you've ever heard this well-meaning suggestion to just relax and it will happen, it might feel absolutely infuriating. It's not that you don't agree that stress could have an impact, but the thing is, it's not as simple as just relax. And this is where my training lies. And through all my years of teaching people how to manage stress, I can tell you that just relax is really not a helpful instruction. In many ways, it's invalidating because it feels like it should be no big deal. It feels like maybe you shouldn't be that stressed out. And I just want to say to you, as a woman who has been through my own fertility struggles, I get that it's not easy to just relax. And that is what I have built all my online coaching around, is helping women navigate this very complex web of figuring out how to calm the nervous system when you believe that it's important, when you really want to do it, but you're in this situation where everything is triggering your stress. So hear me out. It's not just relax. It's not easy. It's much easier said than done, but there are ways that you can learn. There are very sophisticated and effective ways to learn how to dial down your stress. And I've been able to do it for myself, and I've taught many other women to do it. It's not impossible, and I believe that you can do it too. You just need to have the right tools and effective guidance. So I'm going to be talking to you about 3 styles of meditation that I've found to be quite effective when used properly. There are many ways that you can find a system to calm your nervous system. And I'm just going to introduce you to some of the ones that I've found really effective so that you can have an idea of the range of possibilities that are out there for you. So I'm focusing on different styles of meditation. And when I use the term meditation, it's just a broad description of things that help you focus your mind in a particular way. We can learn a lot about the power of mindset from looking at elite athletes. You know, they don't focus on all the things that could go wrong, all the doubts that they have, all the ways that the odds might be stacked against them. They fill their minds with expectations of succeeding. They think about what they want to do. They visualize executing in the way that was going to work well for them. So this is opposite to what many women end up doing in fertility. They think about all the things going wrong, all the messages that are negative, and all the fears that they have. So I like to use a variety of meditation strategies to re-guide the mind in a more constructive direction, much in the same way that athletes train their minds. The first category of meditation I want to talk about is affirmations. So using affirmations is about reprogramming the self-talk of your mind. We're constantly saying things to ourselves. You might be saying something negative like, this isn't going to work, everybody thinks I'm ridiculous for trying, things like that. And that's really not helpful. And instead, we want to fill the mind with hope and possibilities and the things that are constructive for us to think about. So we can put that in the form of a sentence that you could repeat to yourself. You could write it down, you could read it, you could listen to it. And I'll share a few examples of affirmations that I've written to help women steer their mind in a more constructive direction. So a common time of high stress is the end of the cycle and start of a new cycle, right? And when that starts again, sometimes this can be very devastating. It can feel very upsetting. So I like to help women shift to a more constructive place with that. And a couple of affirmations from my Start of the Cycle series. For example, And if you can just right now take these words in and imagine that it's the start of the cycle for you and you're guiding your mind into a place that's going to be more in alignment with a calm space and trusting your fertility. My womb is releasing its lining to create a clear space for new growth of a new healthy lining, which may become my baby's nurturing home. Here's another example. As the old lining is released, any feelings of sadness and loss about this ending are also released, leaving room for new possibilities for all that lies ahead. And when you allow these types of statements to become your self-talk, to just kind of listen to that in the background, it starts guiding your mind in a lower stress direction. Now, the way I came to discovering how effective affirmations could be for reducing fertility stress was when I was on my own fertility journey, and I had been trying for our second child for almost a year. I was 45 years old. I finally got pregnant, and then I had a miscarriage. And then I was sort of like on this determination train to make it happen again, and I became very obsessed with every moment, every sign. I realized that I was really out of balance, and all the other stress management tools that I had used for years and taught to others weren't working for me. So I turned to affirmations and I wrote these to go with the different weeks of my cycle. And it was shocking how well it worked for me. So then I turned around and started making these recordings for others, and I've gotten really positive feedback that it's helped them as well. So that's how I discovered that, wow, these affirmations can really help. It was for helping myself because I was desperate. And then I shared it with others and it helped them as well. I'll share a few examples from my set of affirmations for improving egg quality. And, this is something that I came by after I had my second miscarriage. Shortly after that period I just described, where I started using affirmations, and both my miscarriages were tested and confirmed to be due to poor egg quality. I was, after all, 45 years old, and that's quite common at that age. So I started learning about what can make a difference, and I concluded that anything that I could do to nourish my system over a period of several months before my next trying to conceive cycle, I took 3 months off to try to really nourish my system. Anything that I could do to nourish my system and create this sort of energy of expansiveness versus constrictedness. So I want to move away from the constant stress feeling of trying to conceive. So I took a break from trying, and I practiced bringing in this sense of expansiveness. And since then, I've written affirmations to help other women who are working on egg quality. And you can hear this element of expansiveness in the tone of the words of the phrases. So I'll share a few of those with you. And if you can just maybe close your eyes and take them in and just see how it feels inside when you let these words in. Now is the time to let go of doubts, statistics, and worries, and to trust in my body's remarkable capacity to generate strong, resilient energy. I practice kindness toward my body by eating well throughout my day. I know that when I take excellent care of myself, my body has tremendous potential to heal, restore, and thrive. I embrace opportunities to play and have fun. Now is the time to engage in experiences that make my heart feel full and alive. So listening to statements like these, whether you record it in your own voice or listen to someone else's recording, helps to steer your mind away from the negativity and toward this kind of expansive space of really nurturing yourself and believing in the possibilities instead of focusing on doubts and fears. So those are some examples of how I use affirmation meditation sets to guide the mind. Another category, the second category I want to talk about, is guided imagery. So this is more of your traditional relaxation and picture certain things that are pleasant and peaceful. And I create guided imagery recordings to specifically address certain kinds of thought patterns that I find unhelpful to the process. For example, I have a guided imagery set called Trusting Your Body. So this is to help women who have heard a lot of negative messages and have lost their belief in their body. And in the imagery, I take them on a hot air balloon ride where they lift off and leave the field of doubts that they may have been surrounded by. And they go off, that becomes far in the distance, and they land in a field of hope and possibility and dreams. And using vivid imagery of your own mind and lots of different metaphors that I weave into the meditation, it gently helps guide the mind through this kind of artful suggestion technique that I've drawn from hypnosis techniques to deprogram some things that might not be helpful to you and bring in the kind of mindset that helps your body feel safe and comfortable and warm and happy and all these things that are more conducive to fertility, creating new life. Another set that I have, I call Simplify, and that is to open to the notion that sometimes less is more. We think that when we're trying hard and we really want something, we have to try everything and throw in everything, including this kitchen sink. And that can raise stress. Every supplement, every self-care strategy, every different kind of practitioner, we jam it all in there. And then we're so stressed out trying to figure out what we're supposed to take when and navigate all of our appointments. And sometimes less is more. And can we trust the body that it knows how to do this, and that sometimes we get out of the way? And I have metaphors in that meditation about a stream flowing, and if the debris can get out of the way, then the water flows. So these metaphors help your mind kind of go, oh, and it's different from somebody just telling you, hey, maybe you should try less hard. You're like, okay, maybe. But it doesn't really go anywhere. But through guided imagery, through metaphor, sometimes the mind on a subconscious level is more open and willing to open up and consider a new way of being with this experience. Now, by far the most popular guided imagery meditation I've created for fertility is called Inviting Your Baby into Your Womb. And it's about thinking of the months leading up to ovulation and conception as your baby's pre-master and spending that time nurturing your baby's home. So I use the metaphor of a mother bird preparing by building a nest to be the home for the baby that she is inviting into her space. These kinds of images and metaphors really speak the language of the subconscious mind. So it's a gentle, pleasant, and kind of uplifting way to guide the mind in a more productive direction. So we've talked about two kinds of meditation approaches, affirmations and guided imagery. The third one I want to introduce you to, you may have heard of, and that is mindfulness. So mindfulness is based on Eastern philosophy, more centered around accepting what is and allowing things to be. So mindfulness meditation practices are based on this foundation of letting go of striving, of judging things as good or bad, right or wrong, and finding the peacefulness that comes when we allow ourselves to just be present with what is in this moment. Now, this can sound a little bit counter to moving towards something that you really want in your life, but I really see it compatible. I see it as sort of this Eastern-Western blend. So with the affirmations and guided imagery, we're paving the road for where we want to go. And with the mindfulness, we're creating this ease and comfort, even with where we are right now. And with those two together, we can find this resilience and balance as we find our calm in the present moment and also get all of our ducks in a row for moving toward the thing that we hold in our dreams. So mindfulness can be practiced in many ways. It's not necessarily a sitting meditation. It can be a moving meditation. It can be an eating meditation. You can bring mindfulness into your relationships. And I really enjoy infusing mindfulness into all different aspects of how we are in our experience of our lives. I find that there's so much power when we bring in this acceptance-based approach to life, because not just in fertility, but in so many areas of our lives. There are many aspects that simply are not under our control. If we can develop that grace within ourselves to be able to roll with the various curveballs that life is going to throw at us, that's going to serve us at many stages. So these practices are helpful on your fertility journey, through pregnancy, through parenthood, through all different stages of your life. So to me, it's just a win-win to make these part of your tool set because it's going to serve you in so many different ways. You can probably see that I'm very passionate about teaching these mindfulness-based strategies, and they are the foundation of my Conceive with Ease membership program, where all the women come together with this common goal of creating new life. And I teach them how to do these practices and integrate them into their lifestyle so that it becomes a way of being for them as they're going through their fertility journey. I also have a program called the 90-Day Egg Nurturing Program, and the mindfulness tools are an essential part of creating that nurturing period of time to give your eggs and your fertility their optimal support. So that's a little introduction to how mindfulness practices can become a part of your self-care on your fertility journey. So let's review the main points that I touched on today. It's important to calm your nervous system in order to support your optimal fertility. And rather than saying just relax, there are many strategies that you can learn and get guidance on to help you figure out how to do this effectively. I've seen many women go from highly stressed and depressed to feeling like they're thriving and enjoying life again and feeling good about their fertility through learning strategies like this. So I believe that you can do this too with good guidance and effective tools. There are so many ways to do this, and I've introduced you to just a few approaches to help you recognize that there's a whole realm of possibilities to help you find greater calm on this path. So if I were to think about one piece of advice I would have for someone who has just been diagnosed with unexplained infertility, this is what I would recommend. Keep it in perspective. A diagnosis does not define you or predict your future. This diagnosis tells you that there isn't a medical cause that has been identified yet for why you haven't gotten pregnant. I would recommend that you be very careful about how you talk to yourself about this, and I'm going to suggest a reframe of the languaging. So try this on for size. If you've had a diagnosis of unexplained infertility, here's a reframe for you. The medical assessments I've had have not shown any reason why I haven't gotten pregnant yet. Okay, so just try breathing those words in. The medical assessments I've had have not shown any reason why I haven't gotten pregnant yet. Notice how that feels inside, and you might find when you hold that perspective, you may be more inclined and more motivated to focus on the things that are under your control, focus on establishing a healthy lifestyle and maintaining that, and invest in learning skills for calming your nervous system in the face of any kinds of challenges. As we get ready to wrap this up, I'd like to guide you through some of my favorite fertility affirmations that might help you find that sense of calm and ease within yourself. So if you'd like to, maybe you can just close your eyes and take a few soft breaths and let yourself breathe in each of these statements as I share them with you. If something doesn't fit, just let it go by. The vibrant, expansive energy I am cultivating is creating the potential for new life to grow and thrive within me. As I breathe softly into my heart space, I am finding peacefulness in my heart. I can see a vibrant beam of healing light shining down on me and stimulating every intuitive healing process in my body and in my soul. With each breath that flows into my body, I feel warmth, vitality, and courage building inside of me. With each soft breath that leaves my body, I release fear, stress, and striving to control my future, opening instead to allow what is in this moment. With each gentle breath that moves through my body, I feel a softening flowing through my face, my arms, my legs, my womb, and my heart. I am peace. I am grace. I am love. So I should share with you the conclusion to my fertility story. As I had told you, I had 2 miscarriages back to back. I was 45 years old. My AMH was very low, 0.07. My FSH ranged at one point. It was tested at 33. So after the 2 miscarriages, I took off 3 months to really nourish myself, to take care of my health, to sleep well, decrease stress, and connect with that energy of expansiveness that I was talking about. And the very next cycle, after my 3-month break, we conceived naturally with my daughter, who's now 4 years old. I was 2 weeks away from turning 46 at the time. I share with you my story as just one example of how sometimes the body is more capable than what some might expect. And sometimes it's a matter of nourishing yourself deeply and trusting in your body's capacity. Thank you for sharing this time with me here today. If my style of guidance has resonated with you, you're more than welcome to explore my meditations on my YouTube channel, Fertility from the Soul. And you can also check out my website, fertilityfromthesoul.com. I wish you strength, courage, and wisdom on your fertility journey.